Hello everyone and welcome to the FSB National Webinar on Growing Your Small Business with Instagram. I'm Carolyn Frank, I'm the Development Manager for the FSB in North Yorkshire. Thanks so much for joining us today. We've got going on for 200 people already joined and lots more registered, so it's going to be a really busy session. I'll shortly be handing over to our guest speaker, Karina, from Girl About Social, who will deliver her short presentation, and we'll have opportunities to ask questions. So please use the questions to panelists button to send those over, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. Last time Karina and I did a national webinar, I think she answered about 40 or so questions. So please keep them coming in and I'll do my best to summarise them and field them to her during the webinar. If you feel your question hasn't been answered or covered, do drop us a note and we'll try and find you an answer, of course. Today's session will be recorded and it'll be shortly available on our on-demand page on the FSB website in case you want to watch it again, or for those of you who couldn't attend today, you'll be watching it now on demand. If you aren't an FSB member, but you've joined us today, we'd love the opportunity to speak to you further about the benefits of joining. So please do visit the website again and to book a meeting with a membership advisor who can go through all the benefits of being an FSB member. Right, so we've got lots and lots to cover. We're going to stick to the hour. So let's go for it, Karina. We'll spotlight you. I'll mute myself until the Q&A, and I look forward to receiving everyone's questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Lovely to meet you all. We're currently at 199, so definitely happy that that number is growing. I'm just going to share my screen and just make sure Ness and Carolyn, would you double check that you can see everything? I'm assuming you can. I love that it's 2022 and we still have to say that. But I think everyone can see, so that's perfect. Perfect. So as mentioned, my name is Karina Scott. I am the founder of Girl About Social. I am a social media and marketing consultant that works with brands, both large and small, to help them to grow their social media channels. It's something that I have been passionate about for a really long time. Started it around about 8-9 years ago. Well, started working in marketing, I should say, and actually launched Girl About in lockdown, so 2 years ago. Today, as mentioned, we are talking all about Instagram, my favorite app to use, the first thing I check in the morning and the last thing I check at night. And I'm just going to share with you ways that you can grow your business, grow your brand, inspire your audience, and hopefully make some sales. So firstly, I always like to find out what everyone would like to learn from the masterclass. So if you don't mind just popping in the Q&A, or you can add it in your notes, just for a couple of seconds, what you would like to gain from this masterclass. Then what we can do at the end, if I haven't managed to answer your question or to solve that problem for you, we can talk in more detail. So I'll just leave that for a couple of seconds.
So they're flooding in, Karina. So people want to know about getting sales, increasing followers. Susan's asked, where can you get inspiration from if you run out of ideas, where to head for? And just a couple of people checking if we'll have the slides afterwards. We will be able to share those with you. Yes. A couple of other things, how to monetize your Instagram account. Some people at the beginning of their journey, so how to get started, some a little bit more advice about timings, how to use reels to raise awareness, navigating the platform, how to use hashtags, and focusing on as creative businesses, so more sort of sector specific questions coming in, but mainly around attracting more customers, getting more sales, and engagement, of course, and building brands through Instagram.
Yes, so that's brilliant. And actually, a lot of the things that have just been mentioned are there are things I'm going to be talking about today, so I hope that everyone can take something away. But of course, I will leave my details at the end if anybody does have more information that they want to talk about personally or on a more of a private basis. So firstly, what we're going to talk about are the myths. So these are a couple of the myths that I hear a lot when I either do masterclasses or speak directly to clients, or even just have conversations with friends that are influencers or building brands themselves. The first one is the algorithm. So if you're new to Instagram, or you might be an influencer on Instagram, or even a brand yourself, you hear a lot about how the algorithm has changed and I don't know what it's doing and the algorithm doesn't like me. I'm here to say, do not worry about the algorithm. We don't know what the algorithm is. It doesn't mean that it's a game that can be beaten. The reason why the algorithm is there is because Instagram is trying to create a platform to ensure that you see the content that you are most interested in. The only way that you can beat the algorithm is by always ensuring that you're creating content that your audience is interested in. But it doesn't matter about doing it and there's not shortcuts or like on The Sims where you could put random passwords in or like cheat codes. It's just about creating quality content. And that is one thing that we're going to go into more detail about over the next hour. The second is always create a content plan. It doesn't have to be the most dramatic. It doesn't have to be the most in detail, but you need to know every week what you're posting, what it looks like, what the caption is, so you're ready to go because life gets busy. And again, we're going to talk about that in a lot more detail. Always post quality content. And that is the biggest one that I cannot stress enough. Instagram is a visual aesthetic based platform. If you post a photo that looks like it was taken on a potato, it isn't going to look good. You have to make sure that every single image that you post looks good. It's high quality, it's informative. It has to be the best content you've ever created. If you don't, and you're struggling with it, then it's time to go back to the drawing board and think again. And don't stick to planned posting times. I know one of the questions in the Q&A was, what are the best times to post? I don't know the answer. You know that directly for your brand. Back in the day, and by the day I mean post-COVID, we were a lot more stricter with when we were posting and what we were posting, because you were kind of a little bit more aware of where your audience were at specific times of the day. But right now we all work from home. Well, a lot of us do, which means you're on your phone 24/7. There aren't 9 to 5 and commuting hours anymore. You check your phone from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. It doesn't matter. What you will know over time is the best time for your audience when they're online. I know that for me on LinkedIn, 9 a.m. on a weekday is the best time to post on LinkedIn, whereas on Instagram, it's in the evening, but that's directly for my audience. That's not for every social media manager in the UK. So these are just a couple of the myths that I hope puts a few people at ease, especially as mentioned, there are a couple of people that are new to the platform altogether. But of course, we'll go into a lot more detail about those as we go through the slides. Another massive worry that I get a lot is worrying about your following count. It's a vanity metric. As mentioned here, it might feel good to see that you've got loads of followers, but it doesn't mean that every single one of those followers is going to turn into a sale. That metric doesn't measure your success. I would rather have 10 followers and get 10 sales than have 1,000 followers and maybe only get 1 sale. It doesn't matter. You can speak to 500 people or 5,000 people. The main thing is that you are talking to the right person. So if there is a question in there, which we'll obviously go to in more detail about buying followers, do not buy followers. Like, I cannot stress it enough. If there's one thing that you take away from today from Instagram, is do not buy your followers. It doesn't look impressive. And actually, we are a lot more as users and as customers are a lot more aware of brand when they've bought a follower, because you can tell, because their following count will be high, but their likes and their comments and their engagement on a post will be extremely low. So do not worry about it. The main thing is every person you're speaking to on Instagram is the right person that hopefully will want to buy directly from you and your brand. So today is all about rethinking your strategy. It's time to talk to your audience instead of talking at them. So to build a successful business, you need to focus on quality over quantity. It doesn't mean you need to post 5 times a week, 7 times a week. The important thing is the times that you do post, you're giving your audience something that they're actually going to take away and engage with or buy from. As mentioned, you don't need to have millions of followers. It's about the quality of the followers that you've got. And Instagram should never be a one-way conversation. So although that you're posting out, how often are you engaging with your audience on there? It's great to just, well, I'm posting on a Monday and a Wednesday and a Friday, but what are you doing on Tuesday and Thursday? Have you actually spoken and figured out what your audience are up to? And that is what we are going to talk about in more detail today. And what I have done is I've created something something called the Sassy Secret. The Sassy Secret is 5 simple ways to help you to get the most out of your Instagram. So the first is social profile. So that's actually what your profile looks like for your audience to automatically connect with you the moment they click on the profile. We're then going to go on to audit, which is all about reviewing and revamping the content. So you might, your profile looks great, but actually what works, what doesn't work, what do I like to post, and what do my audience want to hear from me? The second S is strategy. That's all about not spraying and praying. So going back to what I've just said, which is you want to talk to people and not at them. So actually, what are you trying to gain from your social media? The third S is all about schedule, about having that content plan. And I'm going to share with you a couple of tips and tricks to make it as easy as possible. And finally, it's all about you. If you don't enjoy doing this, you're not going to post, which means you're not going to make sales. So it's great that I can share all this information with you. And I think someone mentioned in the chat about creating reels. You don't have to create a reel if you don't want to, but you might want to do something else. So we want to make sure that you come away feeling confident about your social media. So first, we're going to start with social media profiles. So this is all about, does your profile stop the scroll? One of the biggest ways to do that is actually looking at the aesthetic itself. This is just a screenshot from one of my favorite influencers. And as you can see, just looking automatically at her profile, it already looks soothing on the eye. You need to ensure that you have a seamless aesthetic. You want to make sure that your profile photo is either a great shot of yourself, if you're an individual brand, or a really great logo. You want to make sure that you add your brand name directly into the bio section, as well as keywords, maybe even adding your website in or a link to wherever that person or your user is going to shop from. One of the also things I like to mention as well is if you've got a branded hashtag or there are certain keywords that you like to use. A great example is my Instagram is actually GRL, about social, but my brand name is Girl About. So what I make sure is that I actually have the information of like my name, my job description. So when you click onto my profile, you can see exactly that it is me that you're buying from. But of course, with Instagram, it is all about the feed aesthetic. And you've probably heard people talk about this a lot to be like, oh, I don't really know if the colors match or what does that look like? And that's what we're going to kind of go into more detail about right now. And a best way to do that is actually using something called the Canva color palette generator. Now, if you search these exact words into Google, this page will actually come up. This is a free tool to use, and you can use it as often as you like. All you do is upload an image. So it could be an image that you just love the colors of. It could be your logo. You upload those images, and what comes out is these codes right here. And these codes right here will then tell you that these are the codes when you're trying to create any piece of content online. So if you do use Canva, which I know probably a lot of you on this call do, as well as when you're taking photos. Now, as mentioned, this is a free tool, so you can use it as many times as you like. I would advise trying to stick to 4 colors, but of course, it's entirely you and it's your brand. Have as many colors as you want. And once you've got those colors, it then helps you when you're trying to create content. So when you're on Canva, you can put that code directly into the color picker, and it will make sure that every image is then the exact image. Having that will then help to ensure that your profile always looks within that fabulous feed aesthetic. I've just used a great example here of a brand that I work with, the Mum Club, because they do exactly that. So even when they're not kind of posting a graphic image, they'll make sure that their photography images also have that pink in there. So overall, their whole feed looks the same. So things to remember just from this is stick to your color palette. Once you've got those colors, use those colors. Of course, if you're new and you're trying to figure out, well, do I like these colors? Do I not like these colors? What work? Of course, that takes time, but almost pick that first before you start posting. Edit your pictures based on that color scheme. So as mentioned, even if you're not using a graphic image and you're using a photography image, stick to the colors pink or blue or yellow, whatever it may be, which obviously matches to choosing locations and backgrounds that match that. And again, always use high quality images. Every image here is a strong image. There's nothing on here that's fuzzy or it's kind of like really, really wide and you can't really see what it is. It's clear. And that is what your Instagram has to look like. If it doesn't, people are automatically going to switch off. We're now going to move on to audit. So this is all about reviewing and revamping your content. So I've got a couple of ways that I like to audit content, which will hopefully help people that are new to starting a profile, as well as those that have already got an established brand. So there are a couple of ways that you can do this. The first way is actually looking at your competitors. So again, I just want to caveat, this isn't an exercise to copy, but to take inspiration from. Everybody on this call is doing a role that someone else in the world is doing as well, but it's how you can make your content stand out differently to theirs. So having a look at your competitors will help you to raise inspiration. And actually from that, it could be because you might not agree with something that they do, or you'd think, well, if I did that, I would do it like this and I would do it like that. And actually from there, you've gained inspiration. But like I say, it's not to copy what they're doing, but to think of like, well, how do they talk about this? Or how do they talk about that? Especially, it's really helpful for anybody that is a service-based business instead of a product-based, because it can be really hard to sell your services on an image. So actually you're like, well, do they create video, or do they do like Q&As, or do they share tips? That's a great way to learn from them. Another way, if you're an established business on Instagram, is to review your current content. So have a look at what you've posted over the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever you're comfortable with, and actually see, okay, what got the most likes, what got the most comments, what got the most like engagement or saves or shares. And actually from there, you can see, okay, well, I know that this customer likes this sort of content, and when I post a video, I know it does really well, or when I post an image, or if I talk about something that's happening behind the scenes, that's the content that your audience want to see, and that is always a great stepping stone to continue. One thing that I actually do, which has taken inspiration from my masterclasses, is I actually post a weekly Q&A every single Tuesday morning from questions that I get from masterclasses like this. And that always gets great engagement, because people out there are like, no, I do want to know this information. That's how I've audited, and that's how I know the content that I can provide to my audience. The last is actually asking somebody with an objective eye. It's very, very easy when you're close to a brand to not actually see the bits that are missing. So working with somebody completely separate to the business, could be your partner, your friend, your neighbor, whoever, and ask them, I've done this, does this make sense to you? What we used to do at school, when you would, the teacher would make you kind of swap your work with someone else to mark. That's what you want them to do. I do it a lot with masterclasses. I always try to learn from them, or I'll share something with a friend and she'll say, oh, so is that what you mean? And sometimes you're like, yeah, that's it. Or I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. So actually I'll go back to the drawing board to make sure that someone understands exactly what I'm trying to say. I hope those three are helpful. I try to obviously ensure that it covers everybody that is new to Instagram as well as already established, but do let us know in the Q&A if you've got any other questions about how you audit your content. And again, these tips, I'm trying to keep them as simple and as easy as possible, because I appreciate we're all business owners, we're all very busy with time. So actually, how are these easy ways that we can get the most out of Instagram?
I've just got a couple of practical questions, Karina. Could I come in?
Yes,
so one very specific. What's the difference between a profile and a bio? And the second one, can Instagram be run on the PC, not the phone all the time? And then I've got some more questions for later on, but just those two maybe in the meantime.
Yeah, so your profile is the entire thing. So the moment that you click onto your Instagram, the bottom right, obviously it has your logo or an image of yourself. When you click on that, the whole thing is your profile. The bio is the white bit in the, and let me see if I can show you on mine, just to make sure I'm clear with it. Let me just pull mine up. I don't know if everyone can see. So this here will be your bio, but the entire is your profile. So
we can just see your slides, Karina.
Oh, I thought I was spotlighted, sorry. Can you see me now? Does that work?
Just the slide.
Oh, okay, maybe I'm not, sorry, I thought I was spotlighted. So yeah, your profile is the entire thing on Instagram, and then your bio is the bit right at the top where you can add your name, you can add your URL and your contact details. So I hope that helps. If you're still not sure, please let me know and I can send a screenshot after. And what was the second question?
The second one was, can it be run on the PC or laptop, other devices apart from phone?
Instagram cannot be, you cannot add, no, you can now. They've changed it. You can now add content, but I would recommend using your phone. However, you can see what your profile looks like on your computer, but Instagram was an app created for your phone because it's all about creating content on the go. So when you're filming content, you would film it directly to your phone on there, but they have now just changed it actually. But when you're planning your content, you can obviously do that on the computer and then just replicate it onto your phone. Was that the last question? Was that what it was?
Thank you. Yeah, we've got some more general ones for later on, but I'll let you continue.
Oh, amazing.
Thanks.
Okay. No worries, thank you.
And people can see you, it's just me who can't, so thank you.
Right, I was going to say, I thought I was spotlighted, fine, okay. We're now going to move on to the second S, which is strategy. So strategy is all about making your audience feel something. So the reason why we buy from Instagram when we see a photo is because actually it's triggered something in us, whether it's, oh, I want to look like that, or actually buying this product will make my life better, or yeah, hiring and working with this person will make my life easier. We felt something like relief, or because we're angry about something, or we're happy, or we're desperate for change. So what we want to do is help you to create a successful social media strategy and actually look at the bigger picture. So as I said before, a lot of brands like to spray and pray, where they're basically just open a window and shout about their services and hope that someone somewhere will be interested in it. It might work, it might think you're crazy. So what we would recommend doing is actually having a plan of what you want to create. So BuzzFeed actually started this in 2017 and they called it the cultural cartography. So what they actually did is looked at all of the content that they had on their website, and they actually broke it down into these 5 categories. And what I would say is these are the categories that you want to almost think about when you're creating a piece of content. So what will it make your audience feel? They don't need to feel all of them. You don't ever need to create content that matches all of them, but actually, how does this make your audience feel when you're telling them about something? So the first is, this is funny. That is your classic like TikTok video, an entertaining video of any time that makes someone laugh. The second is, this is me. So this is you talking to your audience and saying, do you have this problem? Is this you? Do you feel like you can't insert whatever their issue could be? For your audience to turn around and be like, yeah, no, that is me. Like I struggle with that, or I can't do that, or I want to get to that. There's also, this is us. So this is content that might link to if you are like a mum blogger, or you're a family brand and you're saying like, okay, do you and your baby, or do you and your family? How does that relate to someone to then say, actually, no, me and insert here, we need this, or we need to do this, or that relates to us. The fourth is, this helps me. That can be educational content. It could be cooking videos. That could be showing how-tos. You've told me something that's actually going to help me to learn whatever in the future. The last is, this makes me feel. The best way I say to describe this is PETA videos. So a video that they will show of animals will make someone feel something to want to make a difference, to say, actually, I'm no longer going to eat meat or to eat fish. That video makes you feel something. That is the reason why those videos are viral and successful, is because it's made their audience feel something to want to take an action. So again, just I'll leave this on for a little while longer in case anyone's writing them down, is you want to make sure that your content makes your audience feel something to want to take an action. Of course, sometimes you might think, well, you know, I'm just going to show behind the scenes of my business. And actually within that can still go to, this helps me, because people buy from people. So they want to know, well, who is this person that I'm buying from? So even still, that content relates back to one of these pillars. So just really quickly in the Q&A, would anybody just like to pop in what they think their content would fit into, or what they would like their content to fit into? I'll move back to this page. And Carolyn, if you want to just read any out, if anybody says anything in there, it's just quite nice to find out what everyone's up to.
We've got lots of questions on content as well, so we'll maybe do those as the other ones are coming in. Alison's asking, should your Instagram and Facebook content be different? So this thing about having different platforms and different content.
Yeah.
A couple of people asking, what about content for services rather than products, or if it's just them that they're marketing, their personal brand?
Yeah.
Or if they're the service, you know, if they're a consultant. We've had project management people pitching to investors, things like that. They're not sure what to put in their content. And then Dylan's asked, they think that their content's really good, so they have really professional content, but they're not really being seen. So I think you'll come on to that in your presentation, how to get the content out there. But people are asking as well, what's best, having a content plan or posting just as the feel? Should they be planning it, and how much time should they spend on it?
Fine. So if we go back to the first one, just so I can remember. So the first one, what was the first question?
The first question we were talking about, now I've forgotten which the first one was. We were talking about the content. Which one did I say first? Sorry.
Remember, sorry. Yeah. If you share one, then I can.
Allison's, that's right. Sorry. Should your Instagram and Facebook content be different? So different platforms. Karina.
So Instagram and Facebook are actually owned by the same business. So actually a lot of your content can be duplicated. However, when you're posting video, it can look a little weird. So I would recommend, if you're creating video content, to keep that on your Instagram and just double check it before you post it onto your Facebook, just to make sure that the sizing is all exactly the same. Also as well, when you're on Facebook, you have the opportunity to add URLs in. I wouldn't recommend using URLs on Instagram because they're not clickable. So you're actually making it harder for your audience. So what I would recommend doing is using the same piece of content, whether it's a photo, because the dimensions are all the same, but just making sure that when you post it on Facebook, you add things in like your URL, whilst on Instagram, you would just post the photo with the caption. I hope that helps. I know there's a couple of questions about content and what to post if you're a service-based brand in relation to a product-based. I actually will go into that in a little bit more information slightly later on. So we'll kind of cover those there. And what was the last one, Carol?
About how much time to spend, and should you have a really strict content plan or post as you feel? It's kind of how you post in a structured way or organically, and what time do you spend on this platform?
Fine. So I don't know if again I mentioned at the beginning, you always need to have a content plan, because the days, the weeks fly by. The fact that we're at the end of September blows my mind. So when you're creating content and you're trying to talk to your audience, always know what you're going to post for that week. Again, I'll go into more detail later on. I actually think that's in the next couple of slides. It doesn't mean that you need to spend hours on it. I don't even spend hours on my own content, but I actually know what I'm going to post for that week. And I write the caption in my notes. I have the photo saved in my phone, and I just pop a reminder on my phone at the time that I want to post. That's how simple it can be. It doesn't mean that you need to spend hours and hours, because you don't have hours and hours trying to create the content. But you do need to have a content plan. So just if you know that, okay, on a Monday, like Monday, I'm going to post this image, and Wednesday, I'm going to post this image. I've got the captions ready. That's it. At the same time, you can, if you want to, if you do have extra time, you can create and use, an automatic scheduling tool and all these fancy bits. But they're things that I use directly for my clients. But for me, for my own content, I just write everything in my phone, and I just pop a reminder on to remind me on Wednesday at 2 that I need to post something, because life happens. And that's why with this masterclass, I want it to be as realistic as possible, because I could tell you all the things that, we get told by the book, but life doesn't happen by the book. So yeah, just do what's right for you. If you've got an hour a week, do an hour a week of scheduling. If you've got 10 minutes, just quickly write a caption in your phone. So I hope that helps. If we go on to the next couple of slides. Did anyone mention actually, Carolyn, about the what categories? If you just
so the most popular categories are This Is Us and This Helps. And just a couple of questions about how to as well. So there's an example from a food photographer who says how to is attracting other photographers, but she wants to attract clients. So it's about finding those things that work for your customers, how to do that.
Yeah. And I think with the photography clients, Yeah, that can be hard because obviously you want to showcase what you can do, but also you can do that in a fun way. So a lot of photography brands that or individuals, photographers that I follow on Instagram, they will actually show reels of like behind the scenes. So actually, this is how I work with children, or this is how I work with dogs. So again, your content then actually becomes like, you know, this helps me because they're like, oh, right, okay, I know that they've worked with dogs or children or whatever it may be in the past, as well as showing you know, the progress of how we get this shot, so the before and the after. So I know with photography, a lot of video, so reels work really well to kind of encourage people to want to work with you, but it's more than always just sometimes just posting an image of what you've shot. It's almost like behind the scenes of how you shot it, and how you, yeah, that always helps from there. But I'm glad that everyone kind of has an idea of the categories that their content fits into, and hopefully within the next sort of week or so you'll be able to create content that fits that perfectly. But please obviously pop any more questions in the chat and we can come to them next.
Thanks, Karina.
It's okay. Another question that I get asked a lot, and it might already be in the chat as well, is how to write an amazing caption. So you've got your image, especially if you are a photographer, your images are going to be clearly insane. So you've got this image, but actually sometimes people fail on what the caption looks like. So what I would do is actually chunk it up into 3. So the first is engage the reader. As you can see here, this is a caption that actually I've written before, and I've just tried to chunk it down so you can see it. So engaging the reader, start with something with a short sentence, so that is the bold title. So create content anywhere. That's almost like your hook. Then almost underneath is then leave a bit of white space and then talk about what you're trying to tell them within this caption. So if you're trying to create content for your brand, you don't need to have a fancy spancy camera to do it. Once you've done that, it's like, oh, okay, now I want to learn more. So what are you explaining? Share the information. So again, I'm talking about the fact that as social media managers, we don't always use professional cameras. We use our iPhone shots to get the best part. The reason why we like shooting with our phone, etc., etc. I've added in a bit of some tips in there for people to help with that, and then finish with a call to action. So for this caption, it was then swipe. So I wanted you to swipe on the image to see the images of what I had taken on my phone. So you can also see here, which is a bit annoying because the way that the way Canva does it is I've also added in emojis. Emojis are so important for captions because it just breaks up your eye a little bit. It makes it really, really exciting. You can also see here that I get asked a lot is, well, how did you make this to be bold and italic? That is a free tool that I use, which is called Instafonts, INSTA fonts.io. It's a free tool. You literally write in what you want and it will give you other ways of how it can look. So it can bold it, it can make it italic, strike through, whatever, capitals, whatever you want it to look like. And then you can copy and paste that directly into the Instagram. So that again is instafonts.io. But of course, I'll share all that information at the end. And what I've actually done is actually just done a little print screen of a caption that I've done with the emojis and without. So here you can see your eye is like drawn directly to like, oh, okay, this is what you're talking about. It's kind of broken it down. Whereas if you just have all the information plain, it's all quite confusing. You don't really know what the person's talking about. You're a bit like, oh, okay. So this is how I would recommend creating and writing your captions in comparison to just keeping it plain. But please do not be afraid of white space. Do not bunch up all your wording because that's not how we read. We read if we can chunk it out. And that actually works for all platforms as well, by the way, with these caption tips. So if you are obviously posting on LinkedIn or on Facebook, as someone mentioned earlier, you can do exactly the same thing. Make your captions interesting. So another thing that was asked a minute ago was about content ideas, especially if you're a service-based brand instead of a product-based brand. So I just wanted to share a few that I hope will help you out. So how-tos, they are the most easy, especially when you're, if you're a service-based business. So from my side, I would talk about like, how do I write a caption? And I would actually talk to camera with this content idea. behind the scenes of an event. So if you're going somewhere or you're an events-based business, actually showing the setup. One of my favorite things to do is actually put your phone into a tripod and you can put it on a time lapse. So it speeds up the video really, really fast. And you can just be showing that you're walking around and you're building something or you're doing something. That's really interesting content. Introduce yourself. About me, again, that could be an image of yourself, a lovely image, of course, nothing fuzzy, or a video talking about who you are, what you bring to the business. An inspirational quote, that can be something that can be created in Canva. They work really well, especially if it's something that's really close to your heart. So posting that image and actually explaining why you love this quote. Reposting user-generated content. So again, if you've had a testimonial from somebody and they've written about it or they've spoken about you, reposting that. I mean, that's the best way because someone's done the hard work for you. Giveaway posts. So if you are giving away your time in the sense of, you know, you can spend 3 hours with me, or if you're a product-based business, talking about giving away boots or shoes or whatever it may be. Tips and tricks, that works really well for photography-based businesses or for anybody if you're cooking or anything like that. It's like, this is how I do this. I actually follow this really quite interesting TikToker and all of his content is all about things I've learned since in my 30s. And some of them have actually changed my own life. And that's all he talks about. So it worked, literally just random tips. Funny memes, if something's really made you laugh, sharing that on your Instagram, linking back to this is funny, this makes me laugh. Answering your audience frequently asked questions. That is my favorite piece of content that I do every week. And I will be definitely taking inspiration from the questions that you guys have asked today. So again, someone's asked you for something, how do you answer it? You can just have a great photo, you can create it on Canva, you can do a video and actually you're answering that question. If you're an influencer or if you're a brand itself, that you could be a museum or a cafe or whatever, having 3 reasons why you should visit and then sharing that as images or video. 3 things I wish I knew before. An example of that I actually took inspiration from is I follow a couple of my friends are hypnobirthing teachers. So they do a lot of content that's about what I wish I knew before I'd had my baby. So that really helps. Testimonials from previous events or previous clients. And also, again, my favorite thing for whatever. So again, a great sort of just giving information, which also links back to this helps me. Again, we'll share all this at the end and I'll give you the slides, but if anyone wants to write these down, I hope that these will help spark inspiration to create some new content ideas. Okay, so we've kind of still sticking with the second S, and we're talking about all of your strategy. So you've got your content ideas, you know the sort of content that you want to create. And someone actually did ask in this is, well, I create great content, I know it's great, but actually no one seems to be engaging with me. So how do I get it out there? You don't need to use paid advertising. Paid advertising is so expensive, it's ridiculous. It can be long-term, but actually there's other ways that you can do it organically before you start going into paid. And the simplest way to do this is something called the $80 method. So the $80 method was created by this very intelligent New York guy called Gary Vee, who basically all he talks about is giving your 2 cents across 9 posts on 10 different hashtags. So this is how you're giving your $80 into and creating and sparking conversations and connections with your followers. Now, I'm sure a couple of people are probably thinking, what the bloody hell is she talking about? So I will break this down into more detail, but the way it is so simple, it's ridiculous. So I've actually broken it down even more, and I will share with you exactly how I think you should do it. But before we go into that, I just want to share, these are ways how not to comment. So, you've got to do all this commenting. And what I mean by commenting is actually going on to pictures on your profile, that, scrolling through your Instagram and commenting on actually other people's content. That's how you're going to spark a conversation. So these are 2 ways of how not to do it. So don't say, this is great, you should follow my page, because people are like, I didn't ask, but okay. And don't just leave random emojis. It provides nothing. It literally provides nothing. You want to comment to them to spark a conversation for them to be like, oh, that was really lovely. Like, let me go onto their page and see what they're up to and do the same back. So these are two ways of how not to do it. I've moved this round. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happened there. This is how to comment. So like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but these are 3 ways that I talk to different people on my own channel, by actually reading or engaging with their post and then actually giving some sort of constructive comments back. So one person obviously may have been talking, this is a marketing agency, so the post itself, they must have been talking about, you know, literally this, like how to sell on Instagram. So actually I gave a comment back. That comment actually sparked a conversation. Obviously, again, it's just emojis, but actually that person read it to be like, oh, that person's taking the time to comment. Again, I actually leave something. So fabulous trips, thanks for sharing. That person's happy with that. As well as here, the person just liked it, but, oh, you know, I love treat yourself. What a fab way to sell without selling. So again, I actually read the content that someone has created and then offer to spark a conversation back or to spark some sort of interest. And then from there, that person will do it in return, almost a little bit like a giver's gain. So you give to kind of get back, but it's a great way to engage with your audience rather than just liking all the time, but actually taking the time out to comment, but commenting something useful. I'm just going to go back because I'm not quite sure what's happened here. But one way, and I think someone did ask, is how do I even start looking for hashtags? Because that in itself is another hour of conversation. But a quick way that I like to use is an app called Flick. So if it looks like this, I've just added the photo here. This app can be found from the Apple Store or from Google. It is free to use, and it's an easy way to find relevant content in your feed. So you can type in anything. So if you're a beautician, you could type in like beauticians Northampton, and it will also give you other hashtags that you could follow. If you start following these hashtags, what I mean by follow a hashtag is you can search it on Instagram and actually follow the hashtag itself. So anytime someone posts and use that hashtag, it will come up in your feed. And that is a great way to engage with people within your industry, wherever it's like a small or bigger, and actually start providing these comments back. So that's the easiest way to do it. Again, I know that it sounds like it's a lot and you're like, that's great, but how long is that going to take me? I would recommend just spending 30 minutes a day, but I don't mean spending 30 minutes in one because no one has half an hour. What I mean is when you wake up in the morning, everyone spends about 5 minutes scrolling on their phone. Within that 5 minutes, go onto your profile and leave some comments. You're reading the content anyway, so just leave a couple of comments. When you're making a cup of tea, when you're putting your coffee on, whatever it may be, that's what you want to do. Spend 30 minutes a day engaging, but over the day, not just in one. If you've got 30 minutes and you want to, absolutely fine, but you really don't need to. And this actually is the proof of how this helps. So I started working with a brand, London Lane, a couple of years ago. They were brand new to market, so they didn't have any digital footprint whatsoever. And I, within the first, I think I wrote this all down to share with you, it was within the first 14 days, just doing this 30 minutes a day and posting 3 times a week, we increased their followers by 67% because the brand wanted to start talking to people but didn't know where to go. We had 36 clicks to the website and had over 500 profile visits, and that is from posting 3 times. Yeah, so actually 6 times over 14 days, and the rest of it was spending 30 minutes a day engaging. So it really does work. And I know if you went away today and just did one thing for the next week, you would see a massive difference in your engagement by actually providing a community and sparking conversation with your audience. So for the I think it was the brand that was talking about how do I get my content out there, it's actually how often are you talking to your own audience to bring them back in, and you will see a difference in your own profile. So I hope that helps with how to kind of spark it for free and not having to spend on paid. We're now going to go on to the last S, which is schedule. So throughout this, your profile's ready, you know your brand aesthetic, you know your brand colors, you've got your content down, you've got your inspiration, you know what you're trying to create, you're engaging. But actually now, as someone mentioned, how often does it take for me to actually schedule this content? You don't need to spend that long scheduling. As I said before, you just need to know what you're going to post for that week. If you know you're going to have a really, really busy month, you might want to start the month with planning what each week looks like. So that way, you know, okay, I'm ready. Like I know what I'm doing. But all I mean is just write your captions in your phone, leave them in your notes, add the photos that you want to post into your phone, because obviously you can upload quickly from Instagram, and just set yourself some reminders. You can, of course, if you want to, there are tools that you can use. I would recommend using Content Cal. That is the easiest scheduler that I've ever used to upload my content. And with that, it does automatically post for you as well. But that's for those that may have more time to actually schedule everything. Excuse me. But if you don't have the time to schedule, or you don't have an hour a week to get all that scheduling in, it's all about writing the captions, getting the images ready, and then just setting a reminder to go live. As I said, I do not schedule my own content, but I know what I'm posting and when I'm going to post it. You can actually use this amazing tool, which is free, called Planoly. And again, if you add this into Google and into Apple, it will come through. Planoly is great because you can schedule your content, but also it helps you to see what the actual profile will look like. So this is just a snapshot of what my profile is. The ones with the white are photos that have already been uploaded, and the ones with the U are ones that I've actually just added into this app, and I can actually move them around to see what they would look like before I go live. So going back to that brand aesthetic, if you're thinking, well, I posted this photo, I think it will look good, but I'm not sure, use this app. This app is amazing. I use it all the time, and it helps to be like, oh, actually, maybe I should post that then. And even if you wanted to, and you didn't want to have them all scheduled on here, you could just upload them all. So then you also can see that, oh, that's what my feed's going to look like for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. But of course, you know, just do whatever is right for you. But it's just another tool that I wanted to share because it does really, really help. These are a couple of my other tools that I like to use to help with scheduling. Obviously, Planoly's on there. Touch Retouch, that's another free app that helps to make all your photos look really nice. If, for instance, you've taken a great shot and then there's a random person in the background, you can actually swipe the person and it will remove them. It's amazing. Canva, of course, I wouldn't know where we'd be without it, as I'm definitely not a graphic designer. That helps with any graphic-based images. Flick, as I've mentioned, is great for hashtags research. If anyone needs any help with hashtag research, then please do reach out directly and we can talk about that in more detail. Visco, which is VSCO, that app is great for filters. So if you want your photos to all have the same filter image, use Visco, it's amazing. And of course, Grammarly, which is just great because sometimes we all might miss a letter or miss a comma or whatever it may be. So Grammarly, of course, you can download onto your computer, and when you're writing your captions, it will remind you that you know, just to make sure that it spells correctly. Again, I'll share these all with you, but I hope that everyone finds them as helpful as I do. And as mentioned, they're all free, so they're not going to cost you anything to use. So that now leads us on to the end, which is all about you. So Instagram, social media is all about you playing by your rules. There isn't set rules to Instagram. The tips that I've shared with you over the last 45 minutes are all things to make your life easier. But if you don't want to do them, you don't have to do them. And that's the biggest thing with social. Social media is all about having fun. If you know that you're busy in January and February and you want to start planning your Christmas content in November, then that works for you. However, you may know your friend isn't busy in January, so they will start doing their content then. There are no set rules to this. The biggest thing is making sure that you're comfortable, that you're having fun, and you're creating content that is serving a purpose to your audience, and you're actually enjoying doing it. If you don't enjoy it and you find it a chore, then it's probably time to rethink what you're trying to do with social media. So that kind of takes us to the end. And I would love if everybody wanted to pop in the chat, what's the number one thing that they're going to do in the next 3 days to level up their social media? I hope that you found this really, really, really helpful. So please do pop those in the chat. And I also hope that I've answered your question today. I know that we've got loads. It says here 99 plus, so I'm very, very excited to go through them. I know we've got 10 minutes left, so we can kind of chat through those. And I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone's one thing that they're going to take away, you know, for the next couple of days. And of course, I have actually turned all of this into a checklist to make it easier, because I know I have been talking at you for 40 something minutes. So if you just hold your phones up to the screen now and scan, this will actually take you to a download if you want to. Obviously fill in your details and it will automatically send you a checklist. But of course, I'm here to talk social. My Instagram is GRL about social. So please do follow me and please do drop me a DM. I'm social by name, social by nature, which means I'm always on my phone. I'm also a millennial. So if you need me, I will always reply and try to help you out as much as I can. So thank you so much. And yeah, back to questions. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Karina. You've covered lots and lots of the questions already, but we have had about 100 and, well, the number's going up and up, 150 questions. So I'll try and just cover maybe things that we maybe have outstanding. One of them is around sensitive content and permissions. So we've had people who maybe work with schools, people who work with non-disclosure agreements, compliance-based businesses, and sort of healthcare professions. They're worried about compliance and getting permissions from people to post content.
You should always get permission to post, especially if you're posting somebody else's, either their content or their face. So if you're not sure, ask. So literally that simple. I had an old MD that once said, when there's doubt, there's no doubt. And that's actually it. So when you're not sure, go and ask the person, especially if you're posting about a school, because obviously you're not meant to show children's faces. However, what you could do if you're going into schools to talk about what you do is actually sharing what you've learned from that day. So you could say, oh, today I went to Upton Primary School, and I was teaching the children, and talk about what you taught them rather than posting photos of the children there. It's just other ways of thinking about it. And the same with health and safety. I'm assuming it could be, you know, again, you don't want to kind of call out a brand that's done something wrong. But again, posting something which could be how to prevent this. So, you know, if there's, I don't know, cables on the floor, taking a photo and kind of showing this is what not to do, this is how to do it, could be, again, another way to do it without calling people out. But yeah, I mean, that's with anything, just go back to whoever you're talking to first.
Great, that's answered quite a few of those sort of questions. The other thing is how to make people not just view your content and engage with it, but how to convert them into actual sales or future customers. So a couple of people saying that they get a lot of views of their content, but they're not seeing that click through to their actual selling site. There's been a couple of sort of practical questions about how to link to other shopping sites like Shopify or other shops that they have, Etsy as well, but more in general about converting into actual physical sales or getting people to sign up for services.
I think that, I guess, like the easiest way to say it is always have a call to action. So if, for instance, you're a service-based business and you want someone to go onto your website to find out more about your services, having that call to action in the post, say, to find out more, click here. It's actually having that clear call to action. It can be hard because Instagram, like most platforms, don't want you to come off the platform. So if you're a product-based business, integrate your Instagram with your Shopify or with your website so people can buy directly straight on there. If you are a service-based business, it could be creating a video that sounds a little bit more exciting to ask people to then want to click on something. So find out more, download my insert here. It does take time. It's never a quick win. A lot of people also might just want to DM you. So even if you don't want people to click off, and you could just say, for more information, just drop me a comment, drop me a DM, and actually keep the conversation for the beginning on Instagram, because the user journey becomes easy. And then after that, you could then say in your DMs, right, let's email, or here's a link to my website, and then lead them off from there. But of course, like anything, like with any sales, it just takes time. But you'll kind of get it over time as well, hopefully.
As you said, I suppose, be social with it and just have that conversation, and rather than it being a fixed link.
And some people, you know, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but when I'm, for instance, there's a bakery that I'm actually going to on Friday, I follow her page. I followed her for a long time. Suddenly now I need some cakes made, but our whole conversation has stayed on Instagram. I've not gone to her website. I've not emailed her, but actually having your DMs open and the fact that she has the automatic message to say, you know, I'm available, meant that our whole transaction stayed on there. I never needed, you know, of course, to talk to her via email. So kind of ensure that and make it easy for your audience to stay on the page as well. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I think so. I think that answers questions around the URLs to websites as well. You said don't post those, but you're saying actually just instruct people to go to the website rather than having those kind of more formal links. So it's a lot more informal.
Yeah, because you cannot post. So when you post on Instagram, there's nothing clickable within the caption. So actually you have one opportunity, which is the URL within your bio. Now, I know it could be a question on here, and it's one thing I didn't actually mention is, of course, you might say, well, I've got a load of products, so how do I click off to multiple products? That's why we would say integrate with your website. So you can tag the product in each post. Another thing that I would recommend, what I actually have done, is I've created a hidden page on my website, which means obviously you can't see it when you go onto the website itself, but that is one URL that I put onto my Instagram and I just add links to it. You can use those for free with businesses called Linktree. There's another one like Link in Bio, I think the brand is called. And actually within that, it's one link, but when you click on there, it's almost like a tree of different branches. So you can click off to other places. But of course, you can just do that for free by just creating a hidden page on your own website. And that's what I do.
I'm just looking at some of the comments. People are absolutely, I think they're on their Instagram now, taking these tips and putting them into practice, Karina. So that's just perfect. That's what we want. One person's asked really clearly, what do they go do about images they've posted that they're now not happy with? Now they've learned to do this wonderful content. Do they need to go back, or do they just leave it there and move on?
Leave it. Don't remove them, because it's part of the journey, and if you remove it, it will look like you've never posted before. The main thing is you're going to go away from today and you're going to start afresh, and actually the more that you post, it will bump it up. But don't remove them, because it's part of what you've done before, and there's nothing wrong with that. What you've done wasn't wrong, you're just enhancing it and changing it around. So yeah, they kind of definitely leave it. Don't ever delete.
Thanks. And I think we've talked about it already, perhaps, but just about widening people's audience. So looking for customers who they don't have yet. We've talked a lot about speaking with the right voice to your current customers, but how to find that new audience through Instagram has come up quite often in questions.
I think that goes back to, again, what we were saying, which is all about knowing, if you want to start talking to a new audience, understanding what that new audience want from you. So that's that audit perspective. So if you're thinking, okay, I want an audience that are of a certain age, it's actually understanding, well, what does people of that age want? The same way that you would do if you were selling a new product, you would go and understand who your customer is. And a good way to do that is actually doing the engagement side, because you could go and be like, right, I know that the customers that I want to talk to, they are from Northampton and they like cake. So looking at a hashtag, which is like Northampton Bakery or whatever it may be, and then actually commenting on them. But again, these things take time, and if you are changing your business model, you would have obviously done that outside of social and actually looked at it from a sales strategy. So almost taking the ideas from that strategy and then implementing them on social, it's exactly the same.
Fantastic. I feel like I haven't covered all the questions, but I have compiled them into lots. So if people feel that they haven't been answered, please remember to get in touch directly. But I think we'll have to call it a day there. We've almost run out of time, but so much great content, Karina. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
And as I said at the beginning, for those of you who joined maybe a little bit later, today's session has been recorded, so you can watch it back and find all the things perhaps that you missed. There was so much information there, great tips. I hope everyone who's tuned in has found it helpful and has learned something that they can go away and implement. I see from the Q&A chat here that lots of people are taking action almost already. So that's just what we want from these sessions. And FSB has lots of events like this on lots of different topics. So do check out the events calendar and see if there's other ways we can help you. Again, if you're not an FSB member, please check out the website and see what else we can offer alongside our events program. Lots of resources there as well. We know it's a tough time for businesses at the moment, so hopefully you'll find things there to help you. And if you have enjoyed the event today, and I can see all these lovely comments, thank you so much, Karina. I'm going to share those with you because there's lots and lots of positive comments.
Oh, yes, thank you.
You know, if you are thinking you've really enjoyed it and it's helped you, please do leave us a Trustpilot review for FSB, because we really appreciate it and it makes a big difference. And be social. I'll have a look on everybody's wonderful Instagram and hopefully see things changing after today's session. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon at another FSB event.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you all for the lovely follows. I've just seen my phone is like buzzing off. So again, if anyone needs me, do message me on there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll have a look at the FSB Instagram as well and see all lots of new followers, hopefully. So thanks again, Karina. Thanks to the audience, and see you again soon.
Thank you.